The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Box score from the Old Garden, Nedick's at the Old Garden on 49th Street. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm going to ask Hal Bock, what's the score, Hal?
Well, the score today, we're welcoming back George Case III, and I thought in honor of George's return, I would write about a subject that is near and dear to his heart, and it's what they're doing to baseball with all of the innovations. Let's call them innovations.
You're preaching to the choir, Hal.
I know it. That's why I figured you were back. I figured I'd do
Absolutely.
something special for you.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed the article, and let's talk about it. It's great.
Hey, poor introduction. George is here, David Hubler is here, and Al Blumkin is here. So we're going to have a good panel tonight. The article you wrote this week was terrific, Hal Bock. And would you paraphrase it for us?
Well, I wrote about the changes that they have imposed on us in baseball, the defensive alignments that they now play with the shifting of three players on one side of the infield and nobody on the other side, the pace of play silliness of they find Brett Gardner of the Yankees $3,500 because he didn't get to the plate quickly enough from the on-deck circle. But it's okay to have replay officials, the three umpires, listening to the replay or talking about the replay and taking up 2, 3, 4 minutes worth of time. I mean, this goes on all the time. And the designated hitter, of course, is my all-time favorite. And twice in the last week, we had episodes where pitchers delivered game-winning hits. One was an American League pitcher, Rick Porcello of the Red Sox, hit a bases-loaded double against, of all guys, Max Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in the game. And it was the game-winning hit for the Red Sox against the Washington Nationals. And then last night, we had the same thing happen here in New York. The Mets, who find ways to lose every night, their starting pitcher gave up one hit. It was a hit to the pitcher who unloaded the bases, and 3 runs scored, and the Mets lost the game. So, that's the beauty of the game. And I included a quote in the story from a prominent scout who said they've taken away the intrinsic beauty of our game. And I thought that was so perfect, because if they would only leave the game alone, it's the best game ever invented, and for 150 years it was fine. And then these analytics came along, the analytical crowd, and they're changing the game, not for the better. There are no more bunts. There are no more stolen bases. There are home runs, strikeouts, and walks. And it's not contributing to the game's beauty. It's not helping the game. So every time I stop to think about that, I can rip off 600 words with no trouble at all. And I know it entertains George, so that's why I did it.
Well, it sure did, Hal. And I'm so biased on this because, I'm really a baseball traditionalist, and all the things you're talking about drive me crazy. And, I'm being accused of being a dinosaur, and, I just don't like the game the way it's played today. It's a totally different game than the game that was invented 150 years ago or whatever that date was. And 9 guys would get up and play and not 10, and you did not have a DH, and you did not have all this nonsense. Whatever this clock is, I'm not sure how they even did that, Hal. I didn't see the game. I mean, do they fine him? Is it appealed? I mean, that to me is crazy.
Well, the manager
measuring the time he gets up to the plate from me.
I don't know if it's 1 or 2 appeals per game, but the manager, if there's a close play, has the right to ask for a replay. And when he does that, 2 umpires, the umpire, the chief umpire of the 4, and another umpire, go over to the sidelines, and they put on these headsets, and they're talking to a bunker here in Manhattan where another umpiring crew is located. And they talk, and they talk, and they talk, and they finally decide...
I've got to cut back for a minute. I'll be back.
Go ahead.
Okay. It happened again tonight. It happened again tonight when I turned on the Orioles-Yankee games. They were in the middle of a big discussion. Was it a home run or wasn't it a home run? Right. The scoreboard already had 1-0, and they finally talked and turned out they gave him a double.
All right, now let me ask you, David and Hal both. How do they determine this so-called delay of game walking up to the batter's box? How is that determined?
They have a clock on the hitters and the pitchers, and you got to get there in a timely manner, or else we're going to fine you. It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
But the clock is visible on the field.
I'm back.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Gordon.
I thought it was some call I've been waiting for, and who didn't know I was doing this. And the turn, any call I get with a 202 area code, I imagine there's some organization asking for money.
Well, how much did they get?
It could
Nothing.
be the president.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Yeah, he heard what you said.
Hal, I didn't see the game. I'm curious though. When what's his name gets fined, he's walking up to the plate. Do they fine him on the spot, or
no,
what happens? I mean, does he pull a George Brett and go out screaming to the umpires, or what goes on with that?
No, they notify him a day or two later. Every game is being monitored by Baseball Central, and the baseball police notified him a couple of days later that he had not gotten up to the plate in a timely manner. Well, one of the things...
I saw a sequence on Quick Pitch the other day where the pitcher is shaking off every sign the catcher throws out there. The batter steps out of the box. The pitcher gets ready to throw. The batter steps out of the box. And the batter comes into the box, and they go through the whole routine again.
Well, this was just a matter of getting from the on-deck circle to the batter's box.
Yeah.
Which I find ridiculous. One of the great beauties of the game, one of the things that I fell in love with in the game when I was a kid, the pitcher would be at bat, and he'd make out, and he's got to get back to the bench and sit down. So the next batter, who would be the leadoff batter, would take his time getting up to the plate. Mm-hmm. Reason being that he wanted his pitcher to get some rest. And I thought that's really a very sensible thing to do.
That's
now
part of the way the game was played back then. Absolutely.
Exactly.
By the way, George, it wasn't George Brett. It was another Brett. It was Brett Gardner, who was fine.
I know that was Brett Gardner. I'm talking about the George Brett situation.
Yeah, I know you are.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see he was justified there, but I can't see this being fined for taking time to go from the on-deck circle to home plate. I mean, that's just...
But there's no clock on the field as far as I know. That's one thing they're talking about instituting for the pitcher. A clock on the field like a 30-second clock in basketball. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. They talk about speeding up the game, and then 4 umpires will huddle with earphones on their heads for 2 to 3 minutes
They do.
to determine the call. Make the call. That's the game. There have been who is it that got robbed of a no-hitter on a bad call by the first base umpire? Well, that's tough. Play the game.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I saw the other day. I was watching, and it was a play on second. Well, first of all, it was a ridiculous play to me. But a fly ball is hit to the right fielder. The right fielder catches the ball. The runner on first base decides he's going to take off and go to second, which is bizarre to begin with. You're not going to be thrown out by you're going to be thrown out by the right fielder. He's the closest to the base. So they have instant replay. As soon as the batter, gets to the base, he's called out by the umpire. He waves his hand or does some damn thing, and they go to instant replay. And now they got 4 minutes or whatever they're doing to decide, and they call the player out anyhow. I mean, first of all, he shouldn't have run. Secondly, he was out, and if the umpire missed the call, that's baseball. I mean, umpires are human, like we talked to Al Clark and others.
Exactly.
That's the way the game's played.
One of the intrinsic beauties of baseball is there is no clock.
Right.
We don't have a clock in baseball. We have a clock in basketball, hockey, and football, and you're playing against the clock. In baseball, there is no clock. Take me out to the ball game. I don't care if I never get back.
Right.
That's the beauty of the game. You dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours, however long it takes, for the game to be finished.
Right.
And when it's finished, then we can all go home. But don't tell me that I have to rush through the game in order for you to catch the late news or whatever you're doing, whatever you're running home for. That's just very troubling to me.
I think the limitation.
You know what? And David, it's very troubling to me. We've also talked about this. I don't mean to dominate this discussion, but it just drives me crazy. We had this so-called minor league rule that they were anticipating. What, after the 11th inning, when you have a tie game, you put the runner on second.
I'm losing the phone here.
I mean, again, to me, trying to speed up the game, change the game, all these NBAs with all their craziness, and forget about it. Just leave the doggone game alone and let the players play and let the fans enjoy it instead of tinkering with it constantly. Who knows what's going to happen. But I agree with you, Hal, 100%. I hate the DH. I hate the DH in one league and not the other. It changes the game completely. And pitchers, when they were supposed to hit, when my dad and generations of players were playing, if a pitcher got up and he couldn't hit, at least he knew how to bunt and advance the runner if it was required.
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, that's a lost art. Nobody can bunt anymore.
They sure
the other
can.
night I saw a game. I was foolishly watching the Met game. And
well, that's not baseball.
They're in extra innings. And the leadoff guy in the bottom of the 10th inning walks. Well, the winning run is now on first base. Now, traditional baseball says we got to get him over to second base in scoring position.
Right.
And then maybe somebody by accident will get a single, and we'll win the game. Right. So the logical thing to do is to bunt him along. And the batter is this hotshot rookie who's probably going to go back to the minors pretty soon, Dominic Smith, the first baseman. And he gets up there and he swings 3 times. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Thank you, sir. Have a seat. And I looked at my wife. I said, what are they doing? Why isn't he bunting? Well, they asked the manager after the game. Somebody asked him, well, why wasn't Dominic Smith bunting in that situation? And the manager, Mickey Callaway, said, well, he's never bunted before. Well, why not? Why wasn't he bunting in Class A or learning how to bunt in Class A? Because that's part of the game. That's
Absolutely.
That's the strategy of the game. That's why I hate the designated hitter. You're taking away strategy with the DH. And also, the showcase of our game is supposed to be the World Series. And they're playing the World Series with 2 sets of rules. When you play in the National League Park, you play with National League rules, which means the pitcher bats. When you play in the American League Park, you play with a designated hitter. So the American League team is always at a disadvantage in the World Series because they have to play in the National League Park, certainly 3 games or 2 games, whatever it is. They're going to lose the designated hitter, which they've built their team around.
Right.
That is such foolishness. That's the show.
But then again, the National League's at a disadvantage in the American League Park because they don't have someone who's had the role of a DH all year, and it does take a certain amount of skill to be able to just come off the bench 4 times.
That's right.
And
you want to hear this one happen in the game the other night? The Pirates lost to the Phillies 17-5. In the 8th inning, the Pirates are losing by 11 to 12 runs. And one of their batters, I think it was Starling Marte, claimed he was hit by a pitched ball. And so he waves at the dugout, and the genius manager of the Pirates, Clint Hurdle, challenged the call.
Down 11 runs.
Down 11 to 12 runs, yeah. In the 8th inning, challenged the call.
Well, the simple solution, and that's probably the one they're going to lean into, is to bring in the DH in the National League, because they don't want to do away with it in the American League because it's another hitter. So that's the simplest
solution, but that screws up baseball puts the final nail in the coffin.
No, that's going to be the equalizer, at least in the World Series. They're going to have each team will have a designated hitter. You can't take it away from the American League. For one thing, I think it might even be in the the Players Association contract, because it adds life to some of these ball players who are good hitters but can't field anymore.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, but that's unfair.
They're among the highest paid players in baseball. So
Ted Williams could have hung around another 10 years if there was a DH when he was playing.
Well, you know what I think about the DH as far as I'm concerned. The DH, first of all, you open a Pandora's box when you let the American League do it. Now you've got one league with, one league without. I think eventually the DH is going to come into the National League.
That's right.
I agree with you.
I think it will. But, to me, it shouldn't have gone in there in the first place, but that's what they decided to do. And now you got the Players Union involved, and they're not going to give up on it.
No, of course not.
You guys are talking about some of the highest paid players in the league are DH or American leaguers that can't play in the field anymore, but they can still hit.
The DH came in 45 years ago. It's entrenched now.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm. One of the best hitters in our lifetime was a guy who played in Seattle named Edgar Martinez. He should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not. And the reason is he was a DH. He never played in the field. So the voters, I think, punish him for being kind of like a half a player.
I think
but Big Papi is going to get into will get into the Hall of Fame.
He will.
David, you're right, and I think once he gets in, that'll break that.
That's right, Al. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Then Edgar Martinez will follow. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm perfectly okay with Edgar Martinez. I mean, he's a hell of a hitter. But you got to be in my mind, you got to be a complete player. You got to be able to play the field, and you got to be able to swing the bat, and then you're a Major League Baseball player. But that's changed, and not for the better, in my opinion. I mean, I
totally agree with
American League Baseball.
Well, I think when one of the comparisons I try to avoid is with the NFL. I always thought the NFL was much better when the players played both ways, because that was really football. That was tough, grinded out football. You played offense, you went on to defense. Now a whole other team comes in. Think about this. If you project this long enough, you might have two different teams, baseball teams, an offensive unit and a defensive unit. I mean, why not?
You're right. You're right. You're very old, Hubler, if you remember.
I am. Oh, yeah. I'm still getting fan mail from Babe Ruth.
Hey, David, I remember. I'm not that old. I remember when the players went both ways, and they did it in college too. I mean, that's part of the game.
Well, yeah, that went out in the mid '50s. That went out.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe
a little later than that. I think a little later than that, because Frank Gifford.
Frank Gifford only played the defensive back his first year or two, which he came as a rookie.
Nedick did it till 19.
Yeah, Chuck Bednarik did it.
Chuck Bednarik, and there were a few guys who played both the wide receiver and defensive back, but that basically went out. As far as the linemen and the quarterbacks, I mean, Sammy Bohr played defensive back, but that's going back to the 40s already.
No, Chuck Bednarik is the last guy.
Position. Besides,
but I don't want to see that in baseball. I don't want to see that ever happen in baseball. Hal's right. You hit and you field, and that's what you should be doing. And you should be proficient at both.
Well, you know what? One other thing too that's often overlooked. When you're talking about this, Hal and David and Alan, and Ralph, what's often overlooked. A long time ago, some of the better hitters in baseball were pitchers. They were used as pinch hitters.
Yeah.
Walter Johnson, Don Newcomb, Red Ruffing. I mean, these guys could hit. And Warren Spahn. I mean, they were no slouch at the plate, and they prided themselves on being able to hit because they took batting practice just like everybody else. I mean, now the crazy thing, guys are hardly ever going to take batting practice if they're only going to play, a few interleague games or whatever it is, because in the American League, the DH, the pitchers know that they're not going to hit. And as you're talking about, Hal, they don't even know how to bunt. I mean, players, and not only pitchers, but players don't know how to bunt. And that was
and that's such a basic part of the game, you know.
It was. It was a cardinal situation. I remember playing, and what you did every game when you took batting practice, you bunt as the first down the first baseline, and you second down the third baseline, so you knew how to bunt, and then you started to swing. And then when you were playing, preseason or whatever, you're playing pepper, and that's giving you back control, and you're learning how to bunt.
Exactly.
Today they don't even play pepper anymore.
They're not allowed.
They don't know how to bunt. Right.
They're not allowed.
You see the signs up on the stadium, and I don't know why, no pepper games go out or something. I don't understand that whole thing.
Signs of no pepper. How did that?
Right.
That was part of the entertainment of the day.
Right. Yeah.
Sure was. Yep. Players loved to play pepper because it gave them a chance. They worked on different things. They worked on their bunting, but they also worked on their fielding. They worked on their reaction time. The players would play pepper by the hours. That's just what they did. And when you're a youngster growing up, I can remember myself. I mean, I go out in the backyard with my dad, and we play pepper because he was trying to teach me subtly about how you have a little bit of back control and you're learning how to bunt. Hey, I was supposed to be a kid that could hit the long ball, but on the other hand, a guy like a Mickey Mantle, who everybody knows was such a great power hitter, he was one of the best bunters that ever lived.
That's right. That's right.
The other thing today, when they had in the paper, they had a list of the league leaders, and then they got to complete games. 3 pitchers in the American League have 2. About 10 have 1. In the National League, nobody has any. And somebody posted that still there are 14 teams out there without a complete game. Yeah. I don't even know why they bother publishing this anymore.
Now. You have the 100-pitch limit.
I know
That's
that.
One of my favorites. 100-pitch limit. They should look up the game that Marichal and Warren Spahn pitched in San Francisco one afternoon at Candlestick Park. They matched zeros for 12 or 13 or 14 innings.
15 innings. Mays hit a home run in the bottom of the 16th.
Willie Mays hit one out against Spahn.
Yeah.
But they had like 200 pitches apiece, 230 pitches apiece.
They
asked Marichal if he wanted to come out. And Marichal said, not until that old bastard comes out, meaning Spahn. And neither of them came out. They just stayed in. Now you have specialists. Now you have, if a guy pitches 6 innings, he's really done a great job for you. And now you have a 7th inning specialist, an 8th inning specialist, and a closer.
Ask Detective DeGrom about pitch counts.
Well, and also the twist on that now is you start with your relievers.
Oh, yeah, a lot of teams are doing that because they have fifth starters who are totally inadequate.
Right. So they start with the relievers, and then they work up toward, the closer, in some days, keeping the starters on the bench.
Yeah, Tampa Bay shut the Yankees out 2 weeks ago when I was in Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay shut the Yankees out down there. They used 7 relief pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I don't mind that so much because it's a tactic. It's not become ingrained in the game, but you might have to do that based on what your starting pitching staff is like. So it's a tactic. It's a tactic like the drawn-in infield or something like that. But I would hate to see that become, we have a 2-inning pitcher and here's a 3-inning pitcher and then we have a 4-inning pitcher. And those it would be just a ridiculous.
And they'll cut the requirements to get a win down to 4 innings instead of 5.
Well, I think don't they call those starting pitchers now who go 5 or 6 innings or whatever a quality start?
Quality start. Right.
Quality start is giving up 3 runs in 6 innings, which translates out to an ERA of 4.50.
Quality.
And then they also have the hold.
Yeah.
Pitcher who doesn't give up any, he doesn't change the score, he gets a hold.
No, the Pirates lost the game to the Dodgers last week, 17-1. The final Dodger pitcher went 3 innings. He was credited with a save.
Right.
It was 17-1 at the point they came into the game. Yeah.
They've lost common sense. Common sense has been parked, and the deep thinkers have taken over the game. The analytical crowd have taken over the game, and these are the results that you get.
Saber every year runs an
The 100-pitch limit is so ridiculous. I mean, why can't you pitch, let's say, 110 pitches?
Well, Max Scherzer traditionally goes over the 100 pay. He thinks he's at his best when he's somewhere between 115 and 125.
So, I mean, where is it written?
And then we've talked about this before. How many of those pitchers were high-intensity pitches along the way?
Well,
and
you don't know.
That should count for more, and I think there is a system in some minor league organizations where they judge a pitcher not by how many pitches he's thrown, but how many tough pitches he's thrown, where the adrenaline is increased with back.
They're going to have pumps and IVs on these guys and monitors on the mound. You know, just that's terrible.
I told somebody.
You know what, Ralph, you've talked about that before, and I'm not a part of the way they do it today, but I know when I was pitching, and a lot of the pitchers that I knew in the major leagues, you know, you bear down in a certain situation. So I guess they get double credit or whatever the craziness is today. I mean, that's part of pitching. That's what you do. In between, you know, you work on your control, you work on your location, you work on your breaking ball, you work on your changeup. And if you need to rear back and throw one because you know the guy's not a good high fastball hitter, that's what you do. But that's part of learning how to pitch. And it's not some arbitrary 100 pitch limit and then you come out of the game. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense. I don't like it. I don't like a lot of the stuff that goes on, but that's one that really rankles me because I think starting pitchers in the old days, I've said this before, if a manager walked out on that mound and said, you're coming out because you threw 100 pitches, he'd tell that manager he better get his rear end back in the dugout because he's there to finish the game.
Yeah, I got into a discussion the other day on early win.
Right. That's an example.
And DeGrom said that the other day. DeGrom waved off his manager, said, hey, this is ridiculous. They don't win for me anyway. Let me at least stay in. And
you know, the greatest competitor I ever saw was Bob Gibson. If I had to win one game, Gibson would be my pitcher.
Right.
So now he's pitching in the World Series against Detroit in 1967. Or 68, and he gets himself in a little bit of a jam, and here comes Tim McCarver, who was the catcher, comes out, he's going to talk to Gibby on the mound, and he gets to the mound, and Gibson looks at him, and he says, what are you doing out here? The only thing you know about pitching is you can't hit it. McCarver does a U-turn and heads right back to the home plate, and, you know, Gibson didn't fool around. 100 pitches. You think he would have stopped at 100 pitches? Not on your life.
No way.
You know, Gibson was in there to complete the game. In fact, somebody showed me a stat the other day. You guys have to remember Robin Roberts, right?
Sure.
Great Hall of Fame pitcher from the Phillies. He once had a streak of 28 complete games in a row, consecutive complete games. That's unbelievable. In today's baseball, never happened.
A record never to be broken.
There's a guy named Jack Taylor from 1904 to 1906 in the National League threw 188 straight complete games.
Yeah, well, that's a different.
Yeah, somebody asked you they ask you what record can't be broken. They say Cy Young's 511 wins. All this blah blah blah. I cite that record.
Well, it was that one, Alan, and also, you know, Walter Johnson. I think if you looked at Walter Johnson's overall stats, I think he had something like over 500 complete games.
Yeah, Spahn had 382.
And Spahn, right, at 382. And then you compare it to, I think I was looking a couple of weeks ago with Sabathia, the Yankees, his total career complete games in his 15 or 18 game career, year career was something like 37 complete games.
Oh, Glavine is in the Hall of Fame with the fewest by any 300-game winner. That's 56.
That was Tom Glavine?
Tom Glavine, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
And, one of the things I told somebody was that, you know, the apocalypse is here when they started asking trivia questions on exit velocity and launch angle.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's funny you said that because, and we hope to get him on one of our podcast, but I was talking to Al Downing about that yesterday, and Al and I were laughing. I said, "Hey, Al, did you ever hear about launch velocity and angles?" And he said, "Are you kidding me, George?" He said, the guys got up and we were pitching, and if a guy was able to hit us and he was a low ball hitter, we try to pitch him up and tight." He said, "I don't know all that stuff." And he said, "I guess that's what they do today." But he said, "To me, that's just crazy." And that's the part of what you're talking about, how the analytical, everybody want to measure all this kind of stuff. Just get up there and hit the ball.
They try to reduce baseball to a mathematical formula, and you can't, because the game is unpredictable, and that's the beauty of the game. You don't know what's going to happen next, it happens all the time. And they insist on these MIT people and PhD people insist on trying to reduce the game to a mathematical formula. It's not. It's the game. That's the beauty of the game. You don't know what's going to happen. That's why we go to the ballpark. That's why we pay our admission, and that's why we watch them play, because it's unpredictable. If it was predictable, there'd be no point.
Right.
Yep.
Nobody would play the game. Yeah.
How many times have you watched the ball game and they have a commentator who knows baseball, and they'll say, "You know what? As long as I've been around the game, that's the first time I ever saw that."
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I heard that just the other night. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
F.P. Santangelo doing the color for the Nats games. I never saw that before. And this guy played for a dozen years or so, and of course came up through the minors and played college ball before that, and never saw it before.
Well, I must remember the expression, you go to a ball game and you see something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
That's right.
Casey Stengel said that.
Right.
Come to the ballpark, you'll see something you never saw before.
Saber runs an analytical.
If Stengel were alive today, he would have an instructional league a month before spring training, and he'd invite all of the players in the organization. And he'd teach one thing, how to hit inside out. And if guys hit inside out for the first month of the season, the shift will be no more. Because that's what baseball's about, is making adjustments. If they're playing you to the right, play. If everybody's on the right side of the infield, but the third baseman who's way over towards second base, hey, just hit inside out. You get 5 singles in a row, that's 2 runs.
Or learn how to drop a bunt down the third baseline.
Well, I can understand guys who can't hit the other way because for some reason or other, they never mastered that skill. But you certainly ought to be able, as David just said, to drop a bunt down down the foul line, down the third base line, or down the first base line. And you'll get a hit. That's a hit for you. Isn't that what you're up there to get, a hit, a base hit? So,
well, a young player doesn't want to learn that stuff because it doesn't translate to the pay window.
Well, yeah, but look how many times now that the managers are putting one of their home run hitters in the number 1 slot instead of a guy who's fast.
There's a lot of that going on, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Willie led off once in a while for Al Dog. As a case in point. But
then there's another thing they're doing now is they're batting the pitcher 8th. And letting somebody else bat 9th. So the theory is you have 2 leadoff batters. Well, your pitcher has to hit somewhere, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's such a bad idea. I mean, he's still hitting. He's still up there swinging a bat.
Now, Brown said that with Ned Garver because he's better than a lot of the position players.
Yeah, well, on the Browns, yes.
On the Browns.
Yeah, it's funny because Sabre every year runs in March. They run an analytics conference out in Phoenix. And somebody asked me a couple of years ago if I was going. I said, if you think I'm going to pay $700 to go listen to Brian Kenny for 3 days, you're absolutely nuts.
Yeah, he's
war.
One of the gurus.
What is war good for? Absolutely nothing.
Well,
the only war Yogi Berra and Warren Spahn knew was the Battle
of World War II,
and World War II. And a lot of
as Al says, though, there is one New Age statistic that is really great. You could measure it pitchers or hitters. Pitchers, how they hit against you, and hitters, measures how you hit, and that's OBO on base plus
slugging.
Plus slugging. That is a terrific way to measure the competency of a pitcher and a hitter.
Hey, what's OPS? Does anybody know what OPS is?
On base plus slugging.
On base plus slugging?
Percentage plus slugging percentage.
All right.
It's a good one, Al. It's one of those that's a good one.
You get a guy like Wade Boggs, who used to get on over a couple hundred times a year because between his hits and his walks, he'd get on base 300 times a year. And the guy was a on base machine. He actually led the American League in OPS once or twice, even though he wasn't a great slugger.
On base percentage is one of the statutes of the analytical crowd, and I
know that. Yeah, but if you're an on base percentage and you hit 220, if you have a good on base OPS and you hit 220, you're still not OBA. You still hit 220. You're still not very valuable.
Well, there's a guy playing, I think, for Texas, Joey Gallo.
Yeah, oh God, Dan, don't, yeah. You know, guys like that, though.
25, 30, 40 home runs, and he's hitting 202.
I did a workup on Rob Deere a bunch of years ago when I thought Rob Deere was an exception. He's turned out to be a pioneer. And these guys, they either walk, strike out, hit home runs, and they hit into very, very few double plays because all their outs are flyouts and pop-ups.
Launch angle.
And Gallo is, it's a low average. He's leading the major leagues in strikeouts. He has home runs. And he hits into, he's only hit into a couple of double plays this season. But you look at this guy's career, he has 50% more hits, strikeouts than he does hits. He's batting around 200, and he has some home runs.
They complain about the pace of the game.
Look, Mark Reynolds, who has all the strikeouts single season.
Standing up there striking out all the time?
Yeah, he's learned how to hit, Mark Reynolds, the last year or two.
They say if you hit the ball, something's going to happen. Maybe a guy will kick it. Maybe somebody will throw it away. You don't know. It's possible.
Sure. These types don't hit line drives at ground balls. They get uppercut everything. When they don't hit a home run, they're outs or pop-ups or flyouts.
Yeah,
they don't hit ground balls. They don't hit line drives. And they still play these guys.
Reynolds had a great night the other night.
Yeah, he's learned. Finally, it took him about 6, 7, 8 years to learn, but he has a lot of the single-season strikeout records, but he's learned how to hit. We got Chris Davis on the Orioles, who, David, I assume you've seen a few times. This guy couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag right now.
Yeah, he can't. That's right. They pitch
every out's either strikeout, the pop-up, or lazy fly ball. That's the way these guys are.
Well, there's nobody backing him up,
doesn't matter.
But Reynolds was on a tear. I mean, I think he had 3 home runs in one game the other day, and
10 RBIs the other day.
10 RBIs.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you look, the paper ran last week. I cut out everybody who struck out over 180 times in the season or more. And the 2 big names on there are Chris Davis and the retired Adam Dunn. They're both on there like
he was always a strikeout waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Kingman struck out a lot.
Yeah, the only Hall of Fame is Schmidt early in his career had 180, and Tomei is on there a couple of times in the 180s. That was the only Hall of Fame.
Reggie Jackson too, didn't he?
Who?
Reggie Jackson.
No, he never got up that high in a season.
No?
No, he just piled them up year by year by year. He did that for 20-something years.
Okay, guys, let's talk something positive about today's game, and I'm going to start. It's the infield defense and the acrobatic first-step quickness, unbelievable fielding plays that we get to see today.
I think, Ralph, I agree completely. I'm in awe of some of the arms that these shortstops and third basemen have throwing a ball across the diamond. And the plays they make are just super spectacular, even from guys who are not really known to be great defensive infielders. They too are coming. You know, you talk about great shortstops. It used to be maybe a 2 or 3 that really stood out. Now you're hard pressed to drop under 9 or 10. They're really outstanding.
And you see some outfielders with some Johnny Green, jumping Johnny Green from Michigan, hops. These guys are jumping over the fence and taking back balls
Sure are.
at an alarming rate. I mean,
oh yeah, even an old timer like Brett Gardner the other night. He made 2 spectacular catches in the game there against the Orioles. Just robbed them of blind of home runs or at least triples. Amazing, and he's no youngster.
No, he's not.
And if you get a chance to watch Chapman, a third baseman with the A's, he is unfrickin' believable. I'm sitting out here watching Chavez for 6 years in a row win Gold Gloves. He was really terrific. This guy outshines him. He's a rookie, and get to watch him if you can.
Well, look what happened with the Yankees with Andujar. He came up. He was just going to be up for a bit, and they can't get him out of the lineup. He's played a magnificent third base.
That's right.
Well, I'll tell you how they're going to get him out of the lineup. I think, from everything I've read recently, that the Yankees are going to go for Machado.
Well, I thought you were going to say they're bringing back Brooks Robinson.
No,
that's not going to happen.
Shortstop.
You don't think that'll happen?
I don't. I really don't.
They're using the Yankees to drive the price up. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, because first of all, Angelos doesn't want to trade with the Yankees anyway. And even when they're what are they, 30-something games out of first place, and like 15, 18 games out of fourth place rather. I mean, they're going to get whatever they can from Machado, but I don't think they're going to go for the Yankees. Besides,
I think they will.
Yankees need a starting pitcher. They don't need Machado, not anymore. They 2 years ago or so, he looked really good. Just like what's his name on the Nationals.
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper, thank you. Like Harper was a couple of years ago, the Yankees fans were drooling they want to get Bryce. They don't need him. They really don't need Bryce Harper. Plus, he's having a terrible year this year.
Well, that's why Bryce Harper is now working out at first base, because the Yankees need a first baseman. So he'll make himself appealing to them to play first base. And the Yankees have the money, don't forget.
Yeah, and he is a left-handed batter at Yankee Stadium.
If they pay him $40 million.
I don't think they've given up on Bird yet, though.
If they pay him $40 million, Judge and Stanton will be out there asking for that the next week, after 2 minutes after that contract was signed.
Well,
it has a very bad ripple effect. You saw it way back in the early days of free agency with Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, I know, but both of those guys are signed for 5-6 years, and Harper is just not playing the kind of ball that they think he should be playing. He strikes out a lot. He swings at terrible pitches, and
he's not having a good year. There's no question about that.
No, he's about 219. I think the last I looked, his batting average was about 219.
Okay. I've said this before, guys. There are over 40 players with batting averages under 200. That's not right.
That's a function of swinging for the fence.
Yep.
Yep.
It certainly isn't great pitching all the way around.
No.
Well, I also wanted to comment, Ralph. You brought about ball players being acrobatic and their skill level. I agree with today's game. I mean, the players are terrific. They're much more skilled than the older players. They're much more athletic. They can do more things faster, bigger, quicker, all that kind of stuff. But my whole thing was, and I still maintain, they're not as fundamentally sound as the older players.
Oh, I think you're right.
They haven't learned to bunt. They haven't learned to advance the runners. You know, they're interested in hitting the ball out of the ballpark or whatever it is. And strikeouts. When I was playing, and a lot of players in my dad's area earlier than that, I mean, strikeouts were a no-no. I mean, you hated the strikeout. I mean, today it seems like it's part of the game. Either hit one out into the stands or strike out. That's it.
Yeah, and you can see from the demeanor on them when they walk off the field, it didn't mean anything.
Right.
Didn't mean anything.
I can remember seeing players strike out and they pound the bat on the, you know, they break the bat, they break it over their knee, they go in the dugout and they throw bats and helmets and do all kinds of stuff because you hated to strike out. I mean, today it's almost like an accepted part of the game. That's what they do. Either hit a home run or strike out and go sit down.
I saw that again last night or the night. Somebody in one of the games the other night, he did exactly
the hell
that.
out of the Gatorade thing.
Yeah.
Carlos Gomez did that, yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a show. But, yeah, I mean, the difference is, you know, like somebody said, they're not paid, you know, they don't get the big bucks to bunt. But it's a shame. It's just a shame.
It is. It's part of the game, unfortunately, but, you know, that's what it's become. And then, you know, you guys were talking earlier about, you know, leadoff hitters. One of the best I've ever seen that combined speed, you know, with power was Ricky Henderson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
As, you know, a pain in the rear end as he was, you know, you got to hand it to him. I mean, he combined two skills that are very difficult to combine, and that's power and speed.
Yep. And great at stealing bases, of course.
Oh. Well, he would tell you how great he was at stealing bases.
I know, yes.
In the first person, he'd say, Ricky steals good bases.
Yeah, that's the third person, but we won't quibble.
Well, third person. Yes, of course.
There you go.
All right. Thank God.
But we all agree.
My friend.
We all agree he was a great ball player. I loved watching him. Fastest. Boy, was he fast.
Yep.
Yes.
But he could be a pain in the butt in the clubhouse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hear.
He was not a real good clubhouse guy, that's for sure. Yep.
Playing cards with Bobby Bonilla.
That's right.
Clubhouse with the Mets.
Bobby Bonilla, who just got his annual $1 million.
Yes, right.
They're still paying him, aren't they, Al?
Yes.
July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day.
I think he gets paid through 2023 or something like that.
No, farther than that.
Well, it's
35.
$1 million.
I think it's 2035.
I think you're right, Hal. I think you're right. Yep.
It's my time to defend the Mets on that one. They deferred the man's payment. They're paying him with dollars that aren't worth as much as they were back then, and they got to use those bucks that got interest. And at the same time, you probably save Bonilla from himself because a lot of ball players go belly up when the bucks stop. And he's got $1 million something coming in every year. I think it was a good deal for both teams.
I wonder how much of that was predicated on the idea that it was going to come out of these wonderful bonuses from Bernie Madoff. You know.
That's another story with the Will Ponzi's.
Yeah. Well, we're making so much money. You know, Bernie's making us a fortune. We can afford to give some to Bobby there. No.
I also understand, though, that the Wilpons were treated favorably in the courts by people suing them and suing because they were complicit with Madoff. I mean, they knew they were on the inside. They knew what was happening. And the funny part is, baseball C-League chooses Wilpon to be on the executive financial committee of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, what an irony.
C-League is in the Hall of Fame, which tells you something about the Hall of Fame.
Right, for sure.
That's also.
Hey, we always have a lot to talk about,
diminished.
gentlemen. It's a good show week after week, and I'm appreciative of your company. I learn and enjoy. So thank you again, Al Blumkin.
Good night, gentlemen.
George Case III, David
Good night,
Hubler,
everybody.
and
Bye-bye.
Hal Bock.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Be well,
We'll see you all.
everybody.
Thanks again.
See you
Enjoyed
next
it.
week.
Bye-bye.